Hey there, everyone. Welcome to A Slice of Life with Kelly and John. Today we're in for a treat. John's gonna read from his newest book, George and Me, or Me and George?
Me and George.
Me and George. Um, so
Grammatically incorrect, but it works for the title.
is this one published already? Has it been
Oh
published?
yeah, it's been out.
Okay.
Me and George was released in 2022. Uh, yeah,
What was
on
that?
think about it, folks, on February 22nd, 2022.
Oh, is that
2
like his
22
birthday,
22.
President's Day?
And well, technically, it was George Washington's birthday.
Oh, okay.
But
George.
realistically, we
Thanks.
find out in the book that uh, it really wasn't George Washington's birthday because when he was born, we were still using I believe, the cal Anglican calendar, and
Okay.
then we changed to the Gregorian at some point,
Okay.
and so his birthday was actually changed, and off by about a month and a half, I
Okay.
believe. So
Okay.
there you go. A little bit of history that the book contains
Yeah.
that I sort of forgot because I wrote it 3 years ago or so.
Okay.
So
It doesn't seem like that long ago. I remember you were talking to me about writing it, and I didn't even realize it's been published already. So you
yeah,
move
yeah.
fast.
A lot of stuff has happened
Yeah, that's
since
good.
then that's delayed me getting my next book out. But I really like that one. I just did a book fair earlier today, and somebody came up and I had all my books out there, and somebody came up and they said, what's your favorite? If you were going to read
Yeah.
a book of yours, which one would be the most entertaining? And I said, well, the first one to a degree because it was my life. It told a slice of my life. I said, but I lived it, so I want to be entertained. I think out of all my books, they're all cool for a certain reason, but just blatant entertainment would be Me and George. The premise of the story is great, especially here. The book fair was here in New Jersey today, and a bulk of everything that takes place, it happens here in New Jersey
Okay.
in the book. So that's why it was that way I would enjoy reading that again. So I figured that tonight or today, whenever you're watching this, folks,
Mm.
it would be fun to give you the sections of Me and George that I usually would do in a book reading. And you want me to start this, Kel?
Yeah,
Take
let's get
it away.
started. I haven't heard much about this one, so I'm excited.
Okay, so like I says, I'm going to read from chapter one, and it's just to provide some backstory. Then we'll go into the beginning of chapter six, where things get wild,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Yay.
Chapter one. You may or may not know of me. My name is Christopher Ferranti. Chris to my family and friends, and Mr. Ferranti to my fans and those who want or wanted to do business with me. For the last few years, you couldn't walk through an airport without seeing at least one of my three books on the stands, or in passengers' hands, or on a tablet. Nor would you have been able to pick up a magazine or watch a talk show and not have seen me or heard my name, especially if you enjoy reading, particularly science fiction. It's currently a little before 9 p.m. I'm sitting in my office and happy to say I just finished writing the story you're about to read. You'll find this office is in my penthouse condominium in Fort Lee, New Jersey, overlooking the Hudson River. I should also mention that it's New Year's Eve, Saturday, December 31st, 2022. At exactly 8:29 p.m., I typed the end. Then, as I had upon the completion of my last three manuscripts, I opened a properly chilled bottle of Dom Perignon and poured a flute. That was followed by lighting a joint from the large carved wooden box made specifically to hold such items and their required accoutrements. The box was a gift from a woman I had met in my mid-20s, but I'll write more about her later on. I sat back in the cushioned chair, put my feet on the desk, exhaled the smoke, sipped the fine champagne, and smiled a reminiscent smile. It was hard to imagine that it was 7 months since I had lived through experiences no one on this planet ever had. Experiences of the farthest extremes. But you'll learn more about that as you read on. At the moment, the effects of the Dom and a few hits off the joint, along with taking in the vibrant panorama of Manhattan's skyline, had me unconcerned about the holiday and the fact that not one of my friends want to share it with me. You see, in order to write this true story, I had to sequester myself here in the condo to dedicate my time researching everything that pertained to the subject of this book. I needed to know people, places, dates, and times, especially dates and times, and of an era gone by. But it wasn't my self reclusiveness that sent those close to me away. It was what took place before that. Yet it gave me new views on life, honor, science, and above all, valuable insights into trust and friendship. Most important was the friendship. Parallel to my personal involvement in this story, some other events were taking place, such as the one on Friday, February 4th, 2022, the night before I received the invitation that would ultimately alter my life. It started in New Jersey, of all places, about 60 miles from my condo at Princeton University's Forestville campus, the one nestled a few miles north of the famed main campus. In the exceptionally neat and organized second floor office of the Plasma Physics Laboratory, 34-year-old Dr. Nicole Harmon, black and attractive in that scientist sort of way, could hardly contain her excitement as she stared at a computer screen filled with weather patterns, barometric measurements, and assorted other meteorological data. With certainty in her voice, she called out to her dedicated and protective 24-year-old assistant. Look at these readings, Paul. It's definitely going to happen again. Paul Taylor walked from his desk to look at her screen and nodded in agreement. Where were we? She asked. Read it again. He returned to his desk, sat and read from a computer screen. Friday, February 4th, 2022, 7:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Based on atmospheric and meteorological reports from U.S. military sources, the National Weather Service, combined with data obtained from previously documented and recorded accounts, the next event's charge is expected to be a level 5 to level 4, which will occur within 4 to 6 hours from now and in the area of. He stopped reading, raised his head, and looked at his boss. Harmon tapped the keyboard, resulting in her screen displaying a map of the American Northwest. A few more keystrokes, and the image zoomed in on a thick forest. She read off the screen, Woodburn, Oregon. He typed the location in his report, then saved it and said, It's done, Professor. Then quickly realized the same mistake he had made more than a few times when he'd get excited around Harmon. She sternly and rapidly responded, It's still doctor, then grinned. Though once the dean sees where this research leads and the grant money it'll bring in, her chest filled with accomplishment as she looked at her backward name on the glass of the office door. Yeah, I could see Professor etched on there after this.
Mhm.
Paul said, "It's not like you didn't deserve something amazing, and you deserve everything they should give you." The scientist and her assistant proudly beamed. A few hours later, on a darkened road surrounded by tall, thick trees, as far as Mrs. Tina Boris of Woodburn, Oregon, driving her SUV, could see. A light rain began to fall. She turned on the wipers, lowered the volume of the radio, and decreased the vehicle's speed. In the distance, lightning flashed, then thunder rolled like it had countless times before. As the SUV cautiously cruised along at about 30 miles per hour, it entered a light bank of fog. Mrs. Boris, in her mid-50s, slowed a little more as she passed a familiar road sign that read, "Woodburn, 8 miles." The sign was unimportant to her. She needed to keep her eyes on the road and watch for an unexpected deer or bear running in front of the vehicle. That was all that was on her mind. A massive bolt of lightning blasted into the road about 30 yards in front of the SUV, causing Tina to scream and slam on the brakes. Realizing neither she nor the vehicle were damaged, she took a breath and calmed down as she squinted to look at something. What she saw caused her to grasp the steering wheel and shake in fear. Coming out of the smoke that rose from the lightning strike into the ground, a horse ridden by a Paiute brave appeared, as if they had emerged from the bolt itself. The brave was as confused and frightened as Tina Boris, probably more. Seeing the SUV, he furrowed his brows, let out a war cry, pointed his steed directly toward the headlights, and charged. About 5 yards in front of the vehicle, the horse stopped, reared, and excruciatingly whinnied. The brave, in equal pain, howled like a wolf. Mrs. Boris screamed as she watched the horse and Paiute warrior spectacularly burst into a dazzling, multicolored array of molecules right before her eyes and in the SUV's headlights. Sitting in her vehicle amid the drizzle and fog, the middle-aged housewife shifted into park, then burst into tears and shuddered to catch her breath. According to the police report, she didn't call 911 until she was able to control herself several minutes later. They sent a patrol car and brought her to the nearest hospital. Other than a charred section on the road where it was hit by the bolt of lightning, nothing was found to verify her story about a native warrior, a horse, or any part of what she said had happened. Now, I'm going to go to chapter 6, but first I'm going to take a drink.
Okay.
Chapter 6 begins with Chris leaving his friend Tracy's Philadelphia home around 12:45 in the morning. A thunderstorm had just passed the area, and he felt that was the best time to leave. After having some coffee and smoking a joint, Chris was ready to drive away. He planned to get to his New Jersey home a couple of hours later, but this was happening first. In Dr. Nicole Harmon's Princeton University office, she excitedly viewed meteorological statistics and weather patterns across 3 computer monitors while dictating to Paul. Wednesday, May 11th, 11:54 p.m. Based on our research, the next event charge will be a level 1. Holy shit. Don't put that holy shit in the report. And it will only occur within 2 to 4 hours in the vicinity of. She turned to another computer and tapped several keys. The screen filled to a map of America's eastern seaboard. She tapped one more key, causing the map's details to narrow on a location along the Delaware River. She grinned at Paul, printed a copy of what was on the screen, and excitedly yelled, "Get a couple of umbrellas. We're going for a ride." That's all he needed to hear. They grabbed their coats, some printed pages, two umbrellas, and bolted out the door. The GPS showed that I'd be home about 3:30 a.m. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror to see Tracy standing in the moonlight. Strangely, though the rain had stopped, the lightning now seemed a little closer and the thunder was louder. It wasn't long before I realized that traversing the local streets while looking for an entrance ramp to a highway, any highway, wasn't happening. I was following everything the GPS told me to do. But not only did I miss the entrance ramp, I didn't even come close. I was hopelessly lost and slowly driving along an industrial section of who knows what part of Philadelphia. The weather made it seem all that much more eerie as the thunderstorm moved right overhead. It was 1:14 a.m. as I drove along half-lit streets littered with the flotsam of 21st century life. Construction rubble, rusting pipe, broken glass, assorted scrap metal and trash beaten into a dirty pulp along the roadside. For some reason, the GPS had no knowledge of this area. It was a wilderness without poetry to my bleary though caffeinated eyes. The cracks of thunder were coming faster and with more intensity. As I slowly drove past the Philadelphia Electric Company's Benjamin Franklin power plant, there was an intense flash of lightning and a thunderclap that made me stop the car to survey the surrounding buildings. I wanted to see if any part of them would be crashing down on me. The street was empty, and I was hoping someone would materialize to tell me where the hell I was. And someone did materialize. I just didn't know it yet, but I had that feeling you get when you know someone's watching you. That's the best way I could describe it. I took my foot off the brake and rolled along, hoping to find a road that resembled a main street or a highway. Then I saw a face in the rearview mirror. My eyes immediately shot forward to avoid wrecking the car while I got my wits together. My initial impulse was to drive straight into the nearest telephone pole from sheer terror. It wasn't that the person sitting in the back seat appeared deformed or even vicious looking. Actually, I didn't know what I'd seen. My first thought was that a homeless guy somehow managed to get in my car. To me, that qualified as a valid reason for some second-degree fear. I was at that stage where your throat becomes paralyzed, so the only sound I could make was while fighting to keep my eyes from rolling back inside my head and going into a dead faint. Somehow, I managed to keep the car under control. Slowly, the hair on the back of my neck started to lie down again, so, like a fool, I took another look in the mirror. There he was. He looked tired, almost exhausted. With sad eyes, he stared out the side window with a kind of impassive, bewildered look, almost dazed. But somehow, even in the low brilliance of the dirty streetlights, he had a look of dignity to him. His clothes weren't new. They were different, that's for sure. But they weren't frowsy. A feeling of calm came over me. My ever schizophrenic writer's mind duly noted this as a bad sign. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought about pleading temporary insanity or extreme fatigue when I eventually tell this story to anyone who may be willing to listen. My mind, in no mood for games, promptly rejected both possibilities because I wasn't insane or tired. I looked at him again. This time, our eyes met with an odd shock of recognition. I somehow felt that I had seen him before, but seeing as I was a little distracted at the moment, I couldn't recall from where. That was it. I gave up trying to keep it together, so I pulled the car to the curb and put it in park. He looked sorrowfully, almost reproachfully at me. Where am I? He asked with a certain level of authority. Uh, uh, I responded. Deep breath. Philadelphia. Well, at least somewhere in Philadelphia, I snapped. I just wish I knew where. I took another deep breath. Philadelphia, he asked as if I were lying. This is not Philadelphia. And who are you, young man? Easy, pal. Philadelphia it is, and I'll ask the questions. Who are you? And how did you get in my car? And when did you get in my car? Paranoia and aggression were definitely setting in on my part. Why not? Along with everything else, I was annoyed that someone had been watching me get royally lost. He must have been in a car since I left Tracy's. Car? He asked. We are in a car? There was a delicate hesitation in the way he said the words, as if he didn't know the right ones to use. Yes, I said impatiently. A car! This car! My car! Well, he respectfully stated as he looked around, I must beg your forgiveness for any inconvenience your hospitality may have occasioned you. Whoever he seemed to be getting a grip on himself. As for me, that was another story. He extended a long and rather powerful right arm. I was sure I felt my heart skip a beat. Allow me to introduce myself. Perplexed as I am by my present circumstances, and in whatever straits we may find ourselves, I divine from your manner of speaking that you're an American. And if that is so, my name is Washington. Yeah, how you doing, Washington? I responded in my normal Jersey fashion and shook his hand. It was a cinch to see this guy wasn't going to be a walking road map of the area. Shit. You may call me George, he continued with a gentle, almost shy smile as he leaned back into the leather seat and looked around. But where are we? In this car. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, at least we were the last time I checked. You haven't seen Rod Serling around here, have you? Pardon? He asked. I began to consider the possibility that Tracy may have added an ingredient or two to my coffee or to the weed, but that wasn't her style. I glanced in the mirror and asked my reflection, this is from stress, right? I was hoping the mirror would respond. Nothing. I looked at him again and asked, who did you say you were? His expression changed to disappointment. You have not heard of me, then? I thought perhaps, after all, he let out a sigh. I must remember to tease Ben about that courier service he is so proud of. Of all the wackos walking the streets at night, I had a certified one right in my back seat. Shit. Oh, you mean the George Washington? Forgive me, I said sarcastically, then took a deep breath. You see, George, the fact that I'm lost has me screwed up. It completely ruined my concentration. So, right now, my main concern is to figure out where I am and get over to Jersey. Jersey? He asked. Yeah, you know how? For some reason, my GPS doesn't recognize this area. GPS? I pointed to the dashboard. He showed no reaction other than to ask, "Do you mean New Jersey?" You know another one around here? I asked. I wasn't one to normally pick up hitchhikers or someone of his ilk, but as odd as it sounds, there was something friendly about this guy, even with the weird clothes. That didn't mean I still wouldn't keep both eyes on him. With that, I put the car in drive and eased it away from the curb. He lurched, looked around wildly, and clutched the back of the passenger seat for dear life. "Oh my," he said faintly. "It's moving again." "Yes," I said, "and the idea is to keep it moving until we get across the Delaware River, then into New Jersey, and then up to the Hudson River. At that point, it will stop." Thank you.
Hmm. So when there's lightning, weird things happen.
Yeah, there is a chunk of the book that tells you why it happens
Okay.
and these weird things happen. But
Wow. Okay,
yeah,
fun.
it's certainly one of my most entertaining stories. I love it. I really do. I
Yeah.
love the premise of it, and anybody who has the slightest interest in American history, uh, they'll love it. They'll just love it because it brings the 18th century to the 21st century. You know,
So me and George is George Washington.
there you go.
Me and George Washington.
There
Yeah.
you
Well,
go.
yeah, I guess it's pretty clear about that, but interesting, fun. Okay. This sounds like a fun one.
It is. It is. It's a lot of fun. This one's a lot of fun. Nobody gets killed. There's no murder. There's no
Yay.
mafia. There's no
Yay.
zombies. There's nothing. So
Good.
it's a good, fun story. But thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. And
Yeah.
if you like it, you can always go to www.jondamore, JONDAMORE.com, and you'll get a signed copy, buying it through the site. Or if you just want to get it through Amazon, have it delivered right to you, and there you go. And it's also available in ebooks too. You can also get it for your Kindle, Nook, or iPad.
Who reads
There's
it? Do you
there's
read
the
it?
commercial. No, 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 no. It's not an audio book.
What? Oh, Kindle.
It's
Okay, I know
it's
what you mean. It's
yeah. It's
just
just an
online. It's like,
ebook. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Uh,
I did an audio book for The Boss Always Sits in the Back. To this day, I cannot believe that people want to sit and listen to this voice for 13 and a half
well,
hours.
if they're driving, like a long trip or something,
I guess I tried it. I tried listening to audiobooks when I was driving, and I can't do it. I can't.
no,
I need to
distracting, huh?
concentrate on driving.
Right.
I don't want to think about the
Which
plot.
is, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want
and
to,
it's
you know.
safer.
But folks, if you can do it, The Boss Always Sits in the Back is available. But tonight or today, it's me and George. So thank you very, very much. And thank
Yeah.
you, Kelly.
And thank you for sharing, John. Thanks. All right, we will
My
see you
pleasure.
next time.
Take care, folks.
Bye.
Bye bye.
All views expressed in this video belong to Kelly Nicholson, John D'Amore, and guests. These discussions do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever with which they have been affiliated now or will be in the future. The opinions expressed are solely theirs, and since they are critically thinking human beings, these views are subject to change, subject to revision, and subject to rethinking at any time. These conversations are not meant to be taken as advice and are only for the purpose of entertainment. All statements may be based on hearsay and not necessarily valid proof of any claims in this video. It is not our intention to teach or advise on any topic. Unless otherwise noted, all photos are public domain. Thanks for watching A Slice of Life with Kelly and John.